Hey y'all, welcome to tonight's live stream, How to Be an Entrepreneur in 2025. Now, this one's coming straight from the heart because lately I have had so many friends, family members, and even past students ask me, how do I turn this thing I love into something that actually pays me? And the truth is, there has never been a better time to be a business owner, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. That doesn't mean that things are automatic. You need to know your numbers. You need to have a real plan. You need to understand the difference between having a side hustle and having a business. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So if you can hear me, if you just joined, and if you can hear me, drop a note in the chat. You bring up the chat. Hi, Cece. To let me know if you can hear me. Because, I have had audio problems before. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And, plot twist, I don't have any fake six-figure hacks. I have experience as a business owner and I have honest strategy to help you stop growing, stop guessing and start growing. So if you guys are in the chat and you have a business idea or a side hustle that you want feedback on, drop it in the chat. Um, some of you guys know me as Chef Tony because, yes, once upon a time, I was a personal chef. Others may know me as Raven Elise's momager. Yep, I've been managing her seven-figure content business since for a number of years, almost 10 years now. And if you followed me more recently, you might know me as a social media strategy coach that helps creators and business owners grow online. But my, thank you, Larissa, but my journey with side hustles and entrepreneurship, it started way before all that. Y'all know I'm old. So in college, I actually earned extra money typing up people's term papers. Typing on a typewriter. Term papers. Y'all know anything about that? And so I ended up turning that into a full service secretarial service. Later on, I ran a transcription business for the legal industry and I had a whole team of contractors. I even flirted with having a house cleaning service once when my oldest daughter was a baby and I needed something to do where I could bring her along. Um, I dabbled in selling children's books. So the bottom line is I've done a lot and I've learned a lot, mainly the hard way through trial and error. Because back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have YouTube, and we sure didn't have AI. So today, starting a business doesn't have to be a slow road, or it doesn't have to be extremely expensive as far as your startup costs. You can find your audience, you can build an offer, and you can start learning and earning faster than ever before if you know where to focus your time and energy. And that's why I wanted to do this live stream. Now, I always talk about YouTube and I always talk about social media, but now I'm going to talk about the aspect of thinking like an entrepreneur. And that might also help you in your social media journey. So whether you're looking to build a side hustle or trying to replace your 9 to 5, let's talk about things. We're going to break it down, grab a notebook. We're going to talk about what it really takes to start money in 2025. What mistakes you can avoid. You can avoid mistakes that I myself made, and I'll be the first to admit that I made a bunch of mistakes. And what tools that can help you go from just an idea inside your head, because that's where it all starts, to income without burning out. All right, y'all ready? First, very, very, very first point I need to touch on, because this is kind of where we all started, is your passion. Oh, I have a passion for baking. I have a passion for cooking. I have a passion for clothes, for tea, for dogs, for cats, whatever it is. Your passion is a beginning point. It gives you an idea to start, but your passion isn't a plan. You still need some type of business model. You still need a strategy. And loving something isn't the same as having a strategy. So back in the day, You had to have a business plan. I don't hear anybody talk about business plans anymore. Back in the day, and I can roll it back, shoot, probably almost 40 years ago, I wanted to borrow $10,000 for a business idea. It was my secretarial service, by the way. And it was suggested to me to go through the SBA, Small Business Association. I'm not even sure those people still handing out money. But back then, Small Business Association says, yeah, we'll consider loaning you some money. What we need to see is your business plan. And so I think I was 22 years old. I had to learn to put together a business plan. Now, I had help. I networked with people who were older than me and who were in the business world, and they helped me put together my business plan. I still have that plan. I might publish it online one day just for giggles. Because in that business plan, you had to put down not only your business idea, your overview. I have an idea. Let's just use the business plan, my business as an idea. I have an idea that I'm going to, I don't even know how to talk about this in terms that y'all will understand because we don't even use some of these same tools in active. So it was a secretarial service. Back in the day, not everybody had voicemail. Nobody had a cell phone. And so if you were a small entrepreneur, a solopreneur, and you wanted to run your business, which was a brick and mortar business, because like I said, it wasn't no internet, you had to have someone answer your phone. Well, you couldn't afford a receptionist to hire a body to come and sit at your front desk and answer the phone, but you had to have somebody answer the phone. You had to have somebody send out your letters. Yes, we sent out letters, not emails, on your stationery, blah, blah, blah. And so I had the idea to service small business owners by offering them an answering service, someone to type their letters, someone to build their databases, whatever we were doing back in the day, put their spreadsheets together. And that was my idea. My idea was also maybe to charge business owners $300 to $500 a month to take advantage of this service. Well, that was my idea. Well, they wanted to know, what are your projections? We could spend a whole session just on business plan, but I'm just going to touch on the high points of a business plan. You need to have your idea fleshed out. You need to know, they want to know who your target audience is. Small businesses, solopreneurs, don't have a team, don't have a staff, just getting started. They need to know, what are your projections to make, let's say the first 3 years, what do you project to make? You say, and I talked about this to young people today, and it's like, what are your projections? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't have any idea. I've never done this before. Neither has anybody else who's come up with a business idea. So you have to come up with something. You have to come up with, okay, well, I guess in a perfect world, I would like to have 10 business clients at $200 a month for the first 3 months, and then I'd like that to scale upwards to 20 over the course of a year, or whatever it is. You need to have those projections out. So that's how much money you're going to earn, right? Well, you're going to spend money too. Part of that those projections are knowing how much money you're going to spend. Well, I have to buy this software that's going to run the answering service. I have to, uh, you know, get some kind of contraption from the phone company that's going to let me answer these people's phones. I may have to hire uh, help in order to do the typing or do the send out the correspondence. So they want to know all of that. So your business plan, at least if you don't have a formal business plan, I'm pretty sure you can find many, many templates online, but you don't actually need that. What you need to know is your overall business idea, who your target market is, what you project to make in that a time period, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and what your expenses are going to be. You also need to know how you're going to get the word out. Back in the day, they called it your marketing plan. What is your plan for marketing the business? I talked about this on my TikTok live stream today. Many a time I've had a business idea. I've gone through all the rigmarole to figure out like what my product is going to be and what my offering is going to be and who my target audience is going to be, but never once touched on how am I going to get the word out? If you build it, they will come. No, they won't. They will not. You have to have a way. And we're going to talk about this later on when I talk about using social media to market the business. So, inside your business plan and even beyond the business plan, the number two thing you need to know is your numbers, your cost of goods, your break even, your profit margin. So, talking to a family member of mine who wants to sell custom made earrings, let's say on Etsy or Shopify. And they also want to go around to different little festivals and flea markets and our farmers markets and sell their goods. You see that. I go to farmers markets every other weekend. I see somebody got their little jewelry set out and a little artwork or whatever. So I asked this family member that I'm going to get this booth. It's going to be, in the fall, and I'm making earrings to sell, jewelry to sell at this booth. My question is, how much is a booth? Oh, the booth is just $100. Okay. How much are the earrings? Well, my earrings are $10. Okay. How many earrings you need to sell in order to pay for the booth, much less make money? Well, I need to make 10 sales just to break even. I say, yeah, actually, that's not right because you spent, number one, your time on those earrings, but let's just say that's lost money. You spent money on the materials, the materials to make the earrings, right? How much was that? Oh, and I bought, she said, I bought a tent to go over my booth. Oh, well, how much was that? So this is why it helps to think through what you're doing, not just that, I love making these earrings. These earrings are $10 and I can maybe sell a boatload of them. But even if you sold a boatload of them, how much money are you actually going to make? And I have another example about this. That has to do with a real world example for my personal chef service. And y'all, while I'm talking about this, if you've got a business idea that you want my feedback on, if you want to brainstorm about, if you want to talk about, drop it in the chat. We're among friends. Ain't nobody gonna steal your idea. Drop it in the chat and then we'll talk about it. So for years, I was a personal chef. Personal chefs have clients that we go into their homes typically and we prepare their meals and we get paid. We get paid good money, but we are trading time for money because if I work, there's 8 working hours in a day, 10 working hours in a day. I could spend all those 10 hours working, cooking and baking for my clients, but once I run out of time, I can't make any more money. So, and also it's one client per day type of thing. Maybe when I got a commercial kitchen, it was 2, 3 clients per day, but still there was a ceiling on how much I could make. So I had this idea. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, since I got this commercial kitchen, I'm not going to go client by client by client and make $300 or $500 for each cook day. I'm going to have a set menu that I create, that I post on the internet, and people can order what they want, and then I'll deliver it to them. That way, I can serve more clients and make more money. And I did that. And I thought that I was really eating, as y'all say, when I came up with this business model until I was asked to teach it to another group of personal chefs in another city. So I was putting my numbers, what I say, know your numbers? I didn't know my numbers. I was guessing. I was going on emotions, on what felt right to charge these people. I wasn't looking at how much time I was spending, how much I was paying for help, how much I was spending on gas. When I put my numbers down in a spreadsheet, because I'm showing them real world. I'm saying, y'all, I was busy doing Thanksgiving. Shoot, I was making dressing and turkeys and pies and cakes, and I had everybody was ordering for me. And when I looked at it on the spreadsheet, I realized how much time and energy I was spending to make all that food, plus run around and deliver all that food. And I realized I was much better off financially taking the one-off clients. And I cut that stuff off quick. I was like, oh no, I didn't even realize it. I went to go teach it. And because I was teaching it, I needed to know my numbers. But I should have known my numbers before I even stuck my toe in that. Yes, personal chef clients may pay me, what is it? What does it calculate out to at the time? This is 15 years ago. They may pay me $25 for a plate. Let's just call it a plate. It's a serving with a main dish and a side dish, which sounds high in today's money, and it also sounded high in 2012 money. But what I did was I took that serving that they were paying $25 for, and I turned it into a line item for $12, thinking if I lower the price some, I'm not just going to get the high-end clients up here. I'm going to get the mid-range clients, and I'm going to have more of them. Therefore, I'm going to make more money. But what happened was, yes, I had more of them. But do you know how many chicken breasts you need to make? Do you know how many chicken breasts I had to cut? Hundreds of chicken breasts. That is an insane amount of time and energy, even with help in the kitchen. So, moral of that story, know your numbers, figure out your numbers, jot it down, fool around with an Excel spreadsheet. You don't know anything fancy. Shoot, I am terrible at math. I can hardly add, but I know how to use Excel, and I know how to do a formula in Excel that's going to put my line item, $10 earrings, $12 chicken breasts, $5 cupcakes, to multiply them out by the amount I would have to make in order to make any real money and compensate me for my time and energy. You know what I'm saying? So let me hear in the chat if any of this is like what you expected to hear, if you're getting anything out of it, if you want me to go down a different path from what I'm going down. We're among friends. I know y'all. I'm more than happy to do that. So, knowing your numbers, extremely important. Um, who else has said anything? I'm looking at the comments. Uh, After you know your numbers and after you stick your toe in entrepreneurship, you need to think about scaling. Why scaling? As I mentioned, for instance, with the personal chef business, it wasn't a business. I called it a business, Leaping Learning. Okay, cool. I'm going to look at that. It wasn't a business. It was a job because although I was booked and busy, I had a full slate of personal chef clients who paid me very well and I made very good money. If I did not go to their house or my commercial kitchen and cook, I didn't make money. How can I scale it? I can only scale so far. You know, chefing is a very demanding physically job. You're on your feet all day. Did I want to be on my feet all day, 7 days a week, just to make more money? No. The way I've seen others scale their personal chef business is to hire chefs to cook for them, and therefore they got a percentage off of those chefs, um, what they're making. So say, if you're charging each client $500 and you get, $100 off of each of the chefs that are cooking for you, the more chefs you have, the more clients you have, and you can build that up indefinitely, just adding clients and adding chefs, and if you manage it right. I'm not saying I wanted to do that, but if you have to show up in order to make money. And that's whether you're a hairdresser. If you're a hairdresser and you are a braider and it's just you, that's trading time for money. Nothing wrong with that, but you just need to understand that you have not created a business, you created a job. It's a job you love. It's a job I loved. It's a job that I paid that afforded me flexibility. It's a job that allowed me to work when I wanted to work, but it was still a job. A business makes money while you sleep. Very different. You've heard that saying, count the cost for years. Very valuable information. Yes. It's look, I have I'm fortunate enough to have friends that are very successful in business. And something that one of my business owner friends who created $1 million businesses told me years ago is you need to figure out the way he put it simply was how much is it a month? How much is it a month? Can I afford how much is it a month? How much I want to make a month? How much do I have to spend a month? And when you look at that, it'll tell you whether or not this is something that you may want to pursue. So many times we get into it. I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about myself, things I've done. We get into it. CC, you braiding. Uh, love my braiders. Love my braiders. Keep them in business. But unless you have other braiders who are braiding for you and you're getting a percentage, it's hard to scale because your fingers get tired after so many clients. Um, so many times I've hopped out there. I've made all these mistakes I'm talking about, y'all. I have tried to create a business without a plan. I have created a business without knowing my numbers. I have invested thousands of dollars in a business without even having a, an inkling of an idea about how I was going to get clients, how I was going to promote it. I don't know what I thought. I'm trying to think, what was I thinking? Or just depending on one avenue. In a particular situation, uh, maybe I was partnering with someone who promised that they would bring their audience to my product or service. When that didn't happen, I was dead in the water. There's nothing I could do. And I've also experienced trading time for money and thinking it was a business. So, passive income ideas. Let me give you an example that I talked about with a family member who was talking about the earring business. Let's break it down simple terms. So, the idea is great I'm great at creativity, and that's the hardest part. Especially a lot of us who are in business are creatives, and as creatives, business sometimes isn't our strong point. Business and organization, marketing, numbers, that's not our strong suit. So let's say this family member who wants to sell earrings. All right. Even if you were to sell 1,000 pair of earrings at $10, you've made $10,000. Great. Your finger's going to be tied. Well, and do you even have time to make 1,000 pairs of earrings? How long is it going to take you to make 1,000 pair of earrings? So perhaps if your earrings are selling and it can fall into this model, maybe you can turn it into a DIY. So you take all the components that you use to make these earrings and you package them. You buy the components wholesale and you package them with some instructions retail. Therefore, it becomes a DIY project. It's going to take you less time to take the components once you have your system set up, put them in a baggie and ship them off, than it is for you to string all the beads or string all the components or put everything together to make the earrings, right? That's one way to look at it. Maybe you take it a step further and you create a tutorial on how to make these unique earrings. You can have written instructions. Nowadays is no reason not to have video instructions. And you don't have to ship a thing. You can say, you can make these earrings. And if you maybe want to sell these earrings at your local flea market, for those people who are just on that end of it, then send me $9.99 and I'm going to send you the prototype for these earrings. And I'm going to send you my resources where I get my supplies or whatever. Therefore, it becomes create that thing once and sell it as many times as you want to. Hey, everybody. So let me see the business idea. And I'll continue with this in a minute. I'm currently a Texas pre-K teacher and I want to sell monthly pre-K and kinder activity subscription box. Boxes will include already prepped activity for parents. Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And oh gosh, why stop at pre-K? Go all the way through the elementary. This is hitting home because I took my granddaughter to tutoring today. One of the tutoring businesses. You've heard of them. And it's very expensive. I have to drive 45 minutes there and drive 45 minutes home. I also have to kill 2 hours of my day while she's sitting at tutoring. And honestly, I'm wondering if this could have been a DIY. Not DIY, but assisted learning at home. So selling a box that includes already prepped activities for parents and caregivers is huge. And you can juxtapose that against some of the more expensive, summer camps and tutoring programs that might be in your area. I think it's a great idea. You have multiple ideas for subscription boxes, creating and selling educational digital resources to pre-K teachers and starting an online preschool. Yeah, the online preschool would probably be uh, a great idea, but something for down the line. And that was one of the questions that came up on my live stream on TikTok today. Like, how do I know which idea to move forward with? For me, I would move forward with the idea that's the easiest to execute, that's going to put immediate dollars in your pocket. Those subscription boxes you can do. If you have experience in this, you could do it in no time. That's the one I would start with. And as you are building that business, hopefully you're engaging with and talking to the clients, the customers who buy the boxes, getting their feedback, looking on ways to improve, but also picking their brain about an online preschool. That is how the subscription boxes can lead into the bigger thing. Do y'all agree? I'm researching starting a virtual assistant and home office organization business. According to the knowledge that you're sharing, it'll be a job until I can find a way to make money while I sleep. Absolutely, Larissa. That is true. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And it can be hybrid. So in my business that I have now, I partially trade time for money because I do, let's think about, one-on-one consultations. That means they pay me for a consultation. I spend my time not only consulting with them, but researching their social media and their platforms ahead of time. That's trading time for money. But I also have, if there's someone out there who doesn't need that one-on-one time from me, I have group coaching. That's one too many. That's a little bit better. I still have to show up in order to make the money. I have to show up and coach. But then I also have digital courses that have been being created, done, and still earning money for me today that I created a couple of years ago. So think about, you don't have to be 100% digital and passive. You can trade some time for money if you like. I like. I like talking to people in person. Um, but Larissa, if you could think of a way to one way to scale virtual assistant, I've even thought about this myself, is to hire other virtual assistants and to manage them. If you come up with your system and your procedures and how you do things, that's the whole part about the business. What makes business owners kind of special is because we kind of know how to set things up and organize it so that it runs smoothly. And most people out there may have the skill. There may be lots of people out there who have the skill to be a virtual assistant, but they don't have the skill to create the systems that they need to work under. How do they get paid? Reaching out to clients, communicating with clients, setting up office hours, all those things. Um, Home office organization. I also dabbled in that too. I dabbled a little bit in organization. Yes, that is time for money. But again, those are types of businesses that you scale by perfecting it yourself. It's almost, there's a book called The E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth Revisited. That was written years ago. When was it written? Let me see. Years ago, that talked about as a business, like what makes a business is replacing yourself at every stage of your operation. So you start off and you're the sole proprietor and you're the sole person, let's just say, braiding hair. But then you find a way to replace yourself. You replace a braider. Maybe you're answering the phone and you're braiding hair, and you're taking appointments and you're braiding hair. You're checking email. Maybe you hire someone to answer the phone or return phone calls or field emails. Then you're like, well, I need somebody to, I'm going around and I'm sourcing the hair. I don't know if y'all go to the shops or you order the hair that you need for braiding. Maybe you hire someone to do that part. Then you've taken that off your plate. Then the last thing you take off your plate is like, I'm going to teach some braiders how to do my techniques, how I like to braid. Then I'm going to hire them, and then they're going to do the braiding, and then I'm just going to run the business. What year? Let me see. What year? What year was E-Myth Revisited written? Let me, in the meantime, read Ariel's comment. I'm a freelance makeup artist in Chicago House. However, I'm a self-love advocate. The two tie in together with me. I was thinking of creating videos that are step by step and added to a landing page, but I'm having a hard time with making the two one. I have my makeup clients and I have also written for blogs. Yeah, I'm not understanding how that becomes a business either, Ariel. I understand you have a love for self, but I'm not understanding how. And because I'm in social media, I'm like, oh, that's great content. That's great content to promote your makeup artist business. But that's not really talking about how to scale the makeup artist business. That's a staffing company. Yes. So the E-Myth Revisited was it was published in 1995, which the original book was published in 1986. The premise of it is that small businesses fail because people who start them are great technicians. They're great bakers, coaches, designers, braiders, makeup artists, chefs, but they're not necessarily great entrepreneurs or managers. This is where the E-Myth comes from. The entrepreneurial myth is the idea that if you're good at technical skill, you can run a business that does that thing. So he talks about working on your business and not in your business. Don't get, and so many of us do that. I've done it so many times. You get stuck doing all the daily tasks and You're not creating systems and processes and repeatable operations so that you can scale and eventually step away. That's the name of the game. But we all start at that one point where we're doing everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's mainly what I'm talking about today is in order even to get started being the technician of your business, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. You have to know how much money you're going to be making, how much money you're going to be spending. So uh, think of the McDonald's model. McDonald's make their systems, and they're one of the, I guess, first fast food franchises, all their systems repeatable so that nearly anybody could do it. Anybody who's willing to pay them several $100,000 for a franchise, but somebody can do it. You buy a McDonald's franchise, they're going to train you, they're going to show you how things work, they're going to tell you how everything done that way. No hamburger tastes different at one McDonald's than it does at another McDonald's. So that is kind of an over the top idea of scaling. But the goal is, if you're a business owner, is to build a business that gives you freedom and not a job that owns you. Eventually, look, just speaking for myself, just having a job that I created, that I was calling a business, was good enough for me for years. It was fine. But if you want to be a true entrepreneur, you need to build systems and think like an entrepreneur. So, did I miss anybody's question? Anybody else got a business idea that they want to pop in the chat so we can kind of talk about it and see where it can go. But as far as what I'd like for you to know today, um, getting to the marketing part. Social media is not an option if you're going to have a business. I mean, those of you who are in here, I mean, you found me on social media, you probably already know that. But not everybody knows that. Social media is not an option. It is required. It is your marketing machine. Even if you hate it. And I know someone that lives near me who has a major brand, beauty brand. She hates social media. She cries and whines about it all the time. And I'm so sorry for that lady. I'm so sorry. But you have to do it unless you're going to pay someone to do it for you, as in influencer marketing. But even large brands can't afford influencer marketing right off the bat. So we talked about on my TikTok live stream taking action before it's perfect. That's the next point I want to talk about. But it also ties into social media, because if you have a business idea and you're pretty sure you're going to go down that road, start building your audience now. Start building that audience now by putting out relevant content to that target audience. Start building your audience, because you're going to need them when it's time to sell something, when it's time for them to buy something from you. You're going to need that audience. So you might as well get used to making that content now. And I was also talking to someone who was in my coaching program who was saying, oh, I'm trying to perfect this and this and this. Girl, stop trying to perfect it. Clarity comes from doing things, not thinking about things. You can think. And then when you go to do it, it's still not perfect. You can refine as you go. You don't have to have everything perfect in your business or in your social media before you start taking action. Try it out. Try stuff. Test stuff. You may be surprised. People who sit around on their ideas, I laugh at my husband all the time, because every time, we may see some type of innovation that pop up, he's like, I had that idea back in the day. Well, you didn't do anything with it. I thought about doing that. Well, you didn't do anything with it. And when you don't do something with an idea that comes to you, you best believe somebody else has had that idea. Not that there can't be more than one person doing the same thing and still be successful. But more and more people are going to have that idea, and you're going to get lost in the sauce. When my friend Stacy started her barndominium design business, she was feeling like nobody's really talking about this and nobody really knows what barndominium is, but she got started anyway. And you know what? It positioned her perfectly to when barndominiums started taking off during COVID. Positioned her perfectly to be the go-to person who knows how to design a barndominium, even though when she got started, wasn't nobody checking for barndominiums. Real life example. So get started. Don't delay. Learn as you go. Learn as you go. Uh, Focus on the basics. I wish we had the internet for my first businesses. Do you know how it would have affected my bottom line if I could Google certain things, much less ask AI to do me a business model? Don't know how to do a business? Don't go find a template. My advice was outdated at the very beginning of this live stream. Don't go find a template for a business model, business plan. Go right in that free version of ChatGPT, tell it everything that you wanted to know about your business, where you want it to go, how much money you want to make, how you see it working, and ask ChatGPT to create a business model. You'll have to tweak it. You'll have to nudge it along, give it extra information, ask it to ask you questions. Come on, y'all. It's too easy. It's too easy. You can ask for them to do a competitor analysis. You can ask it to come up with the marketing plan. It's too easy. So, back to my original point, it's the best time in history to be a business owner, but only if you learn the basics. So, any more questions about all the stuff I've been pouring out here today? I feel like I'm covering a lot of stuff, but it is a lot to cover. Um, Key points. What I'd like for you to take away: entrepreneurship in 2025 is more accessible than ever, but without knowing the basics and the fundamentals, it's just a bunch of trial and error that is going to leave you frustrated and possibly broke. I have wasted so much money. I've wasted so much money. I can't even tell you, because I didn't follow these key rules. Know your numbers, be intentional with your time, try to build something that can grow with or without you in 2025. Remember, done is better than perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need to start smart. AI. And if you got value from everything that I'm telling you today and you want more help growing your business or side hustle, um, let me know what you need help with. I don't have any specific tools, courses, or strategy sessions for specifically business. As you guys know, most of what I do is social media, specifically YouTube, but then also coach regarding TikTok, Instagram. I want to thank those of you who showed up for spending your time with me. I know you could be watching anything else tonight, and the fact that you showed up tells me that you're serious about building something. So I'd like to encourage you to follow your dreams. Go head on and be a boss. And I'll catch you in my next live stream.